First Nephi 9 is kind of a logistic chapter that I just want to walk you through an overview of this quickly. So it talks about Nephi having two sets of records. So I'm just going to read it and help you understand what's going on in this too. So he says in verse 1, all these things did my father see and hear and speak. So he's referencing his father's dream. And he's saying, my father basically talked to us about this dream that he had as he dwelt in a tent when we were in the valley of Lemuel. And the valley of Lemuel is, if you look at their travels, there's at the very top here, they are in Jerusalem, right, at first, and they travel by the borders of the Red Sea all the way to this valley of Lemuel. And it's a valley that Lehi names after Lemuel, hoping that he will be strong and supportive like a valley, basically, I think is how he mentioned it earlier, I think. But in that valley of Lemuel, that's logistically where they are. So remember, they've gone back and forth between that valley and Jerusalem, back and forth on their journey, obviously all the way to Bountiful, as you can see, all the way down to here as they'll travel. So that's logistically where they're at so far in their journey. So kind of still in the first parts of their journey right now. And as this loads here, you'll see in verse 2, Nephi then says, as I have spoken concerning these plates, behold, they are not the plates upon which I make a full account of the history of my people. So like the chapters that we're reading right now are what was engraven upon the gold plates that Joseph Smith translated from. And so Nephi is saying, hey, like what you're reading on these gold plates are not an entire account of the history of us Nephite people. He's saying that I have an entire history of my people, and I call that, the history of Nephi, basically. He says, I make a full account of my people. I have given the name of Nephi. Wherefore, they are called the plates of Nephi, right, after mine own name. And now remember, Nephi is, like, at the time that he's actually recording this onto the gold plates, is probably after they're already on the American continent. And he's going back and recalling all this information and writing it on the gold plates. So he's saying, hey, since we've moved to the Americas, we've created a record of all of the kings and wars and contentions of my people in verse 4, right? Upon the other plates should be engraven an account of the reign of the kings and the wars and contentions of my people. Wherefore, these gold plates that I'm writing on are more about the ministry, and the other plates are for more about like the reign of the kings and the wars and the contentions of my people. So he's distinguishing two records. So he's basically saying everything that you're going to read here in the Book of Mormon about the Nephite people, all of that is on these gold plates. That's a sacred record, different than like a secular record of like, here's all the history of the kings and the wars and all that kind of stuff. So that's really what's here in 1 Nephi chapter 9. I hope that makes sense, and possibly even a redundant overview, but hopefully that it's really clear, because what we learn from this is that Nephi is basically telling us, hey, I don't know necessarily why God has commanded me to engrave in these gold plates and only talk about the sacred things, but I know that he's doing this for a wise purpose in him, right? And that wise purpose really is for us in these latter days to be able to see how God didn't just communicate with the people over in Jerusalem in the Middle East over there, but that God has dealings with people all over the world, including on the American continent. And the Book of Mormon is really another testament, just like the Bible is, of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. In this record, in the Book of Mormon, we find that Jesus Christ also appears to the people on the American continent with a resurrected body, glorified and perfected after he had been crucified on the cross. And so that's why this is such an important record, is because it's going to lead up to that witness that Christ lives. Not only a witness that we have from the Bible of his resurrection and appearing to his apostles and to Mary by the tomb, right? But also to the Nephite people here on the American continent after he's resurrected as well. That's why the Book of Mormon is so important. It's a huge testament that we too are going to be resurrected because Christ was resurrected as well, and will live again. So hopefully that gives a good, clear insight as to why this is important.